Hey guys, Simply Betta here. I hope everyone's having a great day. As I'm filming this right now, it is Saturday night. And you know what cool people do on Saturday nights? They cut plywood. And they do chores out in their garages. I mixed myself up a little drink. This is a cold brew coffee. And I would be enjoying this right now, but I looked over and my dear chihuahua Phoebe was drinking it. I had it set on the floor and she was actually like lapping it up because there's cream in here. And pretty soon, I'm gonna see what a chihuahua looks like having drank some cold brew coffee. This is my Phoebe. Phoebe doesn't need coffee, ever. Chihuahuas don't need coffee. I hope she pulls through. So what I'm doing tonight, I'm out in my garage. I'm actually going to be working on my fish room beautification project. This is gonna be like the 4th video in my series. I'm taking my kind of blah looking, very functional fish room and fish rack, and I'm trying to make it into something beautiful instead of just functional. I have the tendency to be pretty utilitarian and not worry about aesthetics so much, but I've decided it's kind of my New Year's resolution coming up here soon is to work on aesthetics and to work on making a beautiful space instead of just a functional space. So being functional and beautiful, that's really what I want. So this is gonna be like the 4th, I think, video in the installment. So let me tell you what I'm doing today. My last video was me setting up a new fish rack, like a steel fish rack that's gonna be able to hold a lot of tanks. But I realized that I needed to make some shelves for the fish rack. You can see here behind me, I have a sheet of plywood. I've already measured the places where I'm gonna cut. So I'll go ahead and cut up this sheet of plywood behind me into the dimensions that I need. And then after that, I'm probably going to paint it and I'm going to seal it and just make a nice little shelf that I can actually put things on now. Let's cut this.
With the music still in your ears, you're on your way to conquer your fears. In this dream of your own desire, there is someone calling your name.
So this kind of became just a temporary holding rack for a bunch of things because I'd never finished my project. I finished the shelving last night, so I'm gonna take all the tanks off and put the OSB shelves on and then the tanks back on after I paint the backs of the tanks. So it's a kind of a busy day today, but it's a necessary step. Emptying some tanks. This tank I'm emptying right now has a bunch of females in it. A spawn of mine, some golds and some greens. This one here is also holding some females. That's a pretty ugly tank full of algae. So I'll do the same thing, siphon water out, put the fish in here, and then I'll be able to empty this. Then this tank here has a few guppies and a bunch of mystery snails in it. That's pretty much it. So I'll take those guys out. I'll have to go in and I'll have to pick all the snails out by hand. I love changing water like this. I can just be lazy.
And when you wake up, you know what you need to do. Just close your eyes. Someone's been waiting for you.
I think these look pretty good. So this shelf here on the bottom, it actually overhangs a little bit. This is because my 20-gallon highs overhang by just a touch. So I made this to accommodate the 20-gallon highs. And on the next 2 shelves, the boards are actually the thickness of the shelf itself. There's no overhang because once these tanks are pushing down on it, the piece of OSB is resting inside of this little lip that's on the shelf. See this little lip right here? So these fit perfectly too. So the next step, before I put the 20-gallon highs back on, and whatever's going up there, I'm not sure yet, back on, it's time to paint some tanks. It's time to paint the backs of these guys. I want the bottoms and the backs black, because that just looks nice. Let's clean some tanks. So the tanks are fine, but they have some algae in them. I'm just gonna clean them up a bit. There's one that I'm gonna sterilize because I'm a little bit suspicious of some of the guppies that were in there. And I'll start by taking off my nice little DIY tank lids. Did you guys see the video about this? I'm pretty proud of them. They're pretty nice. I'll clean these separately. I got one cleaned up. I got it all nice and polished. I even clean the glass on the outside where I'm going to paint. On to the next one. Okay, it's time to paint my tanks. I'm using just a regular old acrylic flat black because I like the way it looks. This looks pretty good, but I'm definitely in need of a second coat. I see some gaps, I see some patchy bits, so I'll go over it again and then I should be done with these. I'm at a stopping point right now as I'm waiting for some paint to dry. This is a little 5-gallon planted tank of mine and it's definitely getting overgrown. This needs some maintenance. I just haven't had the time to dedicate to it for a while. So maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. I'm going to clean up this tank while I wait. The problem with letting a tank get really overgrown with plants is that the plants can start blocking out the light and the plants underneath in the shadow might get starved out and I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna clean this up. You can see I have a lot of hair algae here at the top of the tank. I'm just going to manually remove as much of this as I can. It's not perfect, but it's better. So I have a big clump of stargrass here, Monte Carlo down here. This is Crypt Florida Sunset. Back there I have something called Laganandra tangkasi. I also have, I forget the name of this plant, but I'll put it right here because I just can't think of it right now. And then I have some Vesuvius, which is a really pretty curly looking sword. And also a nice big patch of flame moss right here. Oh gosh, what is this? I think this is water sprite, I think. Maybe one of my lovely viewers will know. Down here I have some really lovely Anubias pinto, but it's coated in this disgusting algae. So I'm gonna go clean this up somehow.
I can never take away our story, our story. We've come too far to waste our story. It's our story.
My tanks have finally dried. The paint took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. And now I'm gonna do something that I've never really done before or even considered doing, is putting some insulation on the painted parts behind the painted parts of my tanks. I might be heating these tanks to pretty tropical temperatures. Like, what's the harm in insulating two sides, right? Like, it might not be perfect insulation, but insulating two whole sides is at least going to help, right? Worth a try, just to make sure my power bills don't go up too much. So this is just a reflective bubble insulation I got at my local hardware store. I'm attaching the insulation to the tanks using mounting tape. Looking pretty good, nice and adhered. Now I'm gonna take my box cutter and just kind of cut around the edge. Nice, I think that turned out pretty well. I think that's pretty cool. I'm gonna do that to the other ones. Now I'll put my DIY lids back on. I made these a couple videos back. They're just nice little slider ones. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer my Betta macrostoma babies, my juveniles right here, into their new bigger home. This is a 10-gallon. They're going into a 20-gallon high. So I'm gonna let the water age, just not for too long, just let all those bubbles get out, and then slowly start transferring them over. I went ahead and I took most of the decorations out and plants and wood, and I put them in their new tank, which is down here. It's looking pretty nice. Lots of places to swim around and hide, bigger space. I should get some good growth. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna acclimate my baby macrostoma into this tank. I just finished transferring over all my macrostoma babies. They look like they like their new place. I have a few runts that I actually left in the old tank. These guys are just gonna stay separated for a little while because they're extra small, and I'll let them have a little chance to grow. I'm tired. I think I have to put this project down for the night. I'm starting to lose steam. It's getting really late. I did a lot today. You know, it's not done, but I did a lot. I'm getting tired. I deserve to rest here. Let's see, tomorrow I'm gonna put some fish back into these two tanks. I'm going to empty out this tank and that tank because they need to be painted. And those fish have to go somewhere else. And then I'm gonna give that tank a nice cleaning. And then maybe, I don't know if I'm gonna get to this tomorrow, put my 75 gallon up on the top. We'll just see what happens. So it is actually the next day right now. I had a busy day, but I just managed to kind of wrap up this section of the project along with everything else I had to do that day. I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. Obviously it's not done yet. It's looking way better, but it's still nowhere near the vision that I have in my head for how this rack is going to look. These tanks, they're bare bottom tanks right now, well, all except the little 5 gallon, and I want them all to be beautiful and lush and full of plants, but this is gonna have to just go step by step as I have time and as I have equipment. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna get some substrate, a bunch of plants, figure out some better lighting situations, and maybe move on to planting these tanks and making them beautiful. I want to put a big tank up on the 3rd shelf. I think I would like that a lot. And then I'll just slowly fill this up how I see fit. Thanks for following along on this project, guys. I hope it's been enjoyable to watch. It's sure been a lot of work on my end, but I know I will love the end result. So thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to stay tuned, like and subscribe. I'll have more on the fish room beautification project coming up at a later date. Have a great day.